The main event of WWE Bad Blood hogged the spotlight this weekend. After the show went off the air, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson launched a verbal tirade on the Bloodline. The final boss returned to interrupt the stare-down between Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns / Jimmy Uso, following their win over Solo Sikoa and Jacob Fatu in a tag team match. Though The Rock didn't utter a single word, he made a 3-count pin gesture before walking off to the back. Immediately after, the People's Champ went live on his Instagram and bluntly said there's a bunch of bulls *** going on in the Bloodline for the past 6 months. It's worth noting that the Brahma Bull was never officially kicked out of the Bloodline, since he didn't suffer a loss like Roman Reigns and Jimmy Uso at WrestleMania XL. Solo Sikoa has since reformed the Bloodline under the premise that losing has consequences. Is the Enforcer in trouble after Bad Blood loss? Only time will tell. Dwayne Johnson hasn't wrestled since WWE WrestleMania XL Night 1, where he pinned Cody Rhodes in a tag team match. On the Raw after WrestleMania, the final boss issued a warning to the American Nightmare and said he'd be coming for him. Now that he is back, one can only assume that a potential match between the two WWE superstars is imminent. But The Rock's cryptic gesture has everyone thinking he might have put Roman Reigns on notice as well. It will be interesting to see if a triple threat match is on the cards for the show of shows next year. The fallout from WWE's Bad Blood event had sent shockwaves through the wrestling world. But for the Bloodline, the cracks were widening and tension was simmering like never before. For months, the group had stood tall as the most dominant faction in WWE, led by Roman Reigns and his cousins, the Usos. However, after Bad Blood, it became evident that not everyone in the Bloodline was on the same page anymore. Among those growing disillusioned was Jey Uso, one of the top members of the faction and Roman's right-hand man. Once fully devoted to his cousin's tribal chief persona, Jey had become the heartbeat of the Bloodline. But recent events were stirring emotions he could no longer contain. To understand the significance of Jey Uso's unrest, we must first revisit the Bloodline's rise. Roman Reigns' transformation into the head of the table marked a pivotal shift in his career. No longer the clean-cut babyface, Reigns embraced his Samoan heritage and asserted his dominance over WWE. Flanked by Paul Heyman as his special counsel, Reigns enlisted his cousins, Jey and Jimmy Uso, to join him in asserting their family's legacy in WWE. It wasn't just about titles or accolades for Roman. It was about control over his family, control over WWE, and control over the future of the business. Jey was the first to fall in line after a brutal feud with Roman. Through beatings and mind games, Roman convinced Jey to acknowledge him as the tribal chief. Jimmy, after much resistance, eventually followed suit, and together, they solidified the Bloodline as the most feared and dominant force in WWE. For a while, things were running smoothly. Championships piled up, opponents fell by the wayside, and the Bloodline ruled WWE with an iron fist. But as Bad Blood would show, all that glitters is not gold, and internal strife had begun to bubble under the surface. At Bad Blood, Roman Reigns successfully defended his Universal Championship, but it was not without controversy. The Bloodline was instrumental in securing Roman's victory, but the cost of their interference was significant. Jey Uso, who had once sworn fealty to his cousin, found himself in a precarious situation, both personally and professionally. Jey had spent the better part of the last 2 years sacrificing everything for Roman's vision. He endured humiliation, pain, and conflict within his own family, all to ensure Roman's reign remained unchallenged. But at Bad Blood, it seemed like something snapped inside Jey. The night began like any other big match for the Bloodline. Roman took to the ring with his usual bravado. The crowd divided between booing the heel and admiring his sheer dominance. Jey and Jimmy, ever-loyal enforcers, accompanied Roman to the ring, ready to ensure his victory by any means necessary. But as the match wore on, Roman's reliance on his cousins became more and more apparent. In the match's closing moments, as Roman struggled against his opponent, he barked orders at Jey, demanding interference. Jey, however, hesitated. His face told a story of inner conflict, an emotion that WWE fans had become all too familiar with over the years. Jey's loyalty to Roman was waning, and for the first time in a long time, it seemed like he was questioning everything the Bloodline stood for. Despite the hesitation, Jey ultimately intervened, ensuring Roman's victory. But when the dust settled and the celebration began, G stood apart from his family. There were no smiles, no joy, and no sense of accomplishment. Instead, G looked around at the destruction he had helped cause, and for the first time, he didn't seem to like what he saw. Backstage, tensions were high. Roman, ever the domineering leader, noticed Jay's shift in attitude and wasted no time confronting him. In a heated exchange, Roman demanded to know what was going on with G. Why had he hesitated? Why wasn't he celebrating the victory? Why did he look like he didn't want to be there? Jay, usually quick to fall in line, didn't back down this time. He fired back, telling Roman that he was tired of constantly sacrificing his career and his happiness for Roman's ego. He was tired of being the pawn in Roman's Game of Thrones. He was tired of being seen as less than equal. "I did everything you asked of me, Roman," Jay spat out. "I bled for you. I fought for you. I did it all for this family. But what did I get in return? All I hear is you telling me what to do. You don't even see me anymore. You just see someone to do your dirty work." Roman, never one to tolerate dissent, dismissed Jay's concerns. He reminded Jay that without him, there would be no bloodline. He reminded him that being part of this faction meant putting the family first, no matter what. "I love this family, Roman. But I'm not a puppet. I'm not just someone you can control. I want my own legacy too." In the days following Bad Blood, rumors began swirling that G was considering leaving the bloodline. It wasn't just about loyalty anymore. It was about self-preservation. G had grown tired of living in Roman's shadow and wanted to carve out his own path in WWE. Fans picked up on this tension, and speculation ran wild. Would Jey Uso be the one to finally stand up to Roman? Would he betray his cousin and bring down the bloodline from within? Or would Roman find a way to manipulate G back into submission? As WWE cameras captured glimpses of backstage interactions, it became clear that the once unbreakable bond between Roman and Jey was fracturing. Paul Heyman, always the schemer, tried to mediate the situation, but even his soothing words couldn't bridge the gap between the two cousins. Jimmy Uso, caught in the middle, found himself torn between supporting his brother and remaining loyal to Roman. With Bad Blood now in the rearview mirror, WWE fans are left wondering what the future holds for the bloodline. Will Jey Uso finally break free from Roman's grasp and assert his own identity in WWE? Or will Roman tighten his grip, forcing G back into the fold? One thing is certain. The bloodline is no longer the cohesive unit it once was. The seeds of rebellion have been planted, and it's only a matter of time before they either bloom into full-blown conflict or are stamped out by Roman's iron fist. Jey Uso's dissatisfaction marks a pivotal moment in the bloodline story. His internal struggle reflects a larger theme in WWE, the battle between loyalty to family and the desire for individual success. As the weeks unfold, Jay's next move could have massive implications for not only the bloodline, but for WWE as a whole. For now, the world watches and waits. Bad blood may have come and gone, but the bad blood within the bloodline is far from settled.